everybody. This is the 12th game in the 12 Games of Christmas Challenge 2018. And for those of you who have been wondering, I did not prepare up front a list of games that I was going to play for this challenge. But it was only one thing as a prerequisite, and that is that it has to be a game that I already own. So if I'd been receiving games for Christmas, for example, and just to let you know, I didn't get a single game for Christmas, it could not have counted, even though I might have made a video. So, and I hadn't really planned on doing a video on the Middle-earth CCG. However, then this happened. On my Facebook page for the Middle-earth CCG that I'm subscribed to, somebody came up with a new solo gameplay and rule set, which they have been testing with a friend. And they posted the rules, so that's 2.5 pages of, well, this is actually not even rules down here, this is just special character abilities, a short version of the rules that you can simply use to put by your deck, by your playing area, and also really nicely done with pictures here, and a little player mat where you can put your cards. And I'm always somebody who enjoys trying out new things when it comes to solo play, because solo play is, of course, the one thing probably that Middle-earth CCG was least designed for. And yes, the people who have been asking me to do a comparison video between MECCG and Lothar LCG, I will do this. Because they are both reasonably different to make a comparison, make a viable comparison between them. So how does this game work? Well, I haven't played it yet, but the differences are immediately recognizable. And I'm just going to read a little bit from the rules. So first of all, they say that faction cards can be very bland and once recruited do very little, which is true. They just add marshalling points, which works in the game as it was designed, where it is a game of conflict between two players, two wizards, as it were, in the wizards. And the idea is that you basically get enough marshalling points to win the overall, I guess, command over the forces of good in their fight against Sauron. Of course, this is completely non-Tolkien-esque. This is what ICE came up with, but you know, that's absolutely not themed, but that's how the game works. And you're trying to get marshalling points. You can get marshalling points through getting groups, you know, factions. You can get them through getting certain items and so on and so forth. And I think you need to have 25 to call a moot, or whatever they call it. So now they give factions more flavor and use rather than just the accumulation of MP. Marshalling points. All factions can now be tapped to cancel an attack key to their region or home side with MPs less than their own, or return faction to hand to cancel an attack with MP equal to their own, or discard factions, or discard a faction from play to cancel a number of strikes equal to their MP value of an attack with an MP value greater than their own. So they can really benefit you. So the idea is you have these factions and they are under your influence and they follow you around, but then when something happens, they just stand by and kind of like go, I don't know. All factions can now be tapped to allow you to look through the player deck to find a character ally with same home site and put the character into play at that site. Very nice. If you have enough influence. So obviously that is nice as an additional action. Some factions also have additional abilities or modifiers. Dunedain add +1 to their MP value when cancelling attacks. Dwarf may tap to play one minor or major horde item. Very nice. Elf may tap to allow information playable at their home site, untapping site once per game. Hobbits may tap to remove a corruption card from a hobbit character. Animals may tap to draw into hand any card from your player deck that refers to home site. So these would also allow you more deck management capabilities. Site encounters. Encounters at sites are limited. An automatic attack that is automatic each time or simply nothing. These rules introduce having themed events encounters at sites, the use of agents, simulate on guard cards, and allow beneficial events at havens and freeholds, as well as giving sites more flavor. Instead of having the same automatic attack at a site or no encounter at all, such as in border holes or freeholds, when you enter a site and would face an automatic attack, or would otherwise just tap the site, roll 2d6. On a result of 8+, you have the encounter on the site card. So either the listed automatic attack or no encounter. If the result is 2 to 7, however, consult the tables below. And if you're at the home side of a character in your company, you may roll 2d6 twice and choose your result. So really interesting. I like first of all the fact that they have this idea of flavorful things happening at sites. So it's not just a card or it's not just a point, but it is actually something that happens there. It has people who live there. You know, it's not just, oh, there are wolves that guard this place. And you're going to go, okay, so but once you're inside the city, what happens there? And also the fact that if you have somebody who's keyed to this home site, they would know more about it. So that's kind of giving you the advantage or the possibility of rolling twice and then choosing the result you like, because they are streetwise, they have knowledge of their location. And then there's a list of things that can happen. They also ask you to construct an agent's deck. And I didn't even realize that agents are a thing. I had seen cards with the name agent on it, but they didn't really play any part in my game yet. So I took one of each of the agents that I've got, and it's a sizable 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 25 cards. And I've built a separate deck out of those. It's actually no use shuffling them. I'm just doing this out of convenience and because I always do it. Because you actually then look through this deck that you constructed. And when you have an agent's encounter. And when you have an agent encounter at a site, look through your deck and encounter the first that is playable at that site. So we can, for example, take this one. And he is playable in Edoras, Dunharrow or Isengard. This one is playable, is in Easterling Camp, Variak Camp, Shrelkine, Laketown Dale, Shrelkine, Variak Camp, Easterling Camp, Southern Oasis, Cometh Bryn, Dunish Clanhold, Bree or Cometh Bryn, Bill Ferney, we know him, Vale of Erech, Londgalen, San Gorwing, Dol Guldur, Londgalen or Dol Amroth. So you see you have them for almost every region. Dunish Clanhold, Bree, Cometh Bryn, Minas Tirith, Pelargir, Duradan Forest, Woes, Passage, Hold, Stone Circle, Goblin Gate or Mount Gundabad, Lossadan Camp or Bree, Dol Amroth or Minas Tirith, Dol Guldur, Woodman Town, Lake Town, Dale. So we've got 2 already for the region that we will be playing in. Moria, Thranduil's Hall, Sarden Gorywing. Where's Sarden Gorywing? That must be somewhere up here. That would be here. Okay, good. So we've got 3 already. Iron Hill, Dwarfhold, That would be over here. Lake Town as well. Pelagia. Carndumo Mount Gram. And Bag End Aubrey and Blue Mountain Dwarf Hold. Okay, so as you can see, I've got plenty, and they would be spread out pretty much evenly across Middle Earth. So this would take me quite far. And so basically how this works is you look through your deck and encounter the first that is playable at that site. Then you look at the skills of the agent to determine the encounter, rolling randomly if an agent has multiple skills. If it's a warrior, he attacks a character of your choice. Scout attempts to steal item with greatest MP value from lowest mind character if a tie. Ranger attempts to lead company astray. So basically, Sage attempts to learn of your plans. Diplomat, so basically they tell you what to do, which I really like. I mean, it actually makes sense to do this. It fills these cards with life. So it builds a story around the playing of cards, which goes beyond simply acquiring MP. Environment deck. Do not put environment cards in the player or hazard deck. Instead, create a deck of environment cards with an equal number of resource cards and hazard cards. Well, the thing is, I don't really have that many environment cards that are resource cards. So what I've done is I've taken every single environment card that I could find and put it in here in 3 copies, or as many copies as I could get, up to 3. And we will just see how this plays. So this would be the environment deck, goes here. In the long event phase of a turn, roll 2d6 and on a result of 8+, draw an environment card. Hazard limit. No, now I don't know if I'm going to do this, because now this is where my special flavor comes in. And also they have character abilities. Major characters, characters with mind 4+, have an added special ability. Aragorn, for example, once per turn may untap. Very good. Bilbo, if not at a haven or bag end, you may keep an additional card in your hand. Very good. Boromir can opt to take as many strikes from an attack. Very good. Eladan, +1 prowess with Elrohir. Elrohir, +1 body if with Eladan. You can see that they have probably played the LOTR LCG, because Eladan and Elrohir are twins. As we know, they are brothers to Arwen, and no, Arwen was not an only child, and yes, they are actually way more important to the story than she is, at least in the books, because in the books she just gets married in the end. But Eladan and Elrohir actually spend a lot of time with Aragorn in the wild. When you have both characters in LOTR LCG as your characters, they actually improve each other's stats, and this is what they're doing here as well. Faramir may untap any ranger in company once per turn. Very good. Frodo may tap to heal. I really like this. So it means that, you're kind of less restricted. So what are we then going to do? Because at the moment I've just told you the differences. So you have your agent deck, you have your environment card deck. So what are we going to do? Well, I really wanted to like this. As you know, I think, and it's quite interesting because I spoke to somebody who knows Gareth Ryder Hanrahan, the person who wrote the supplements, and even he never played the game because he said his group didn't go in for the system. So there you have it. However, I've got all of these books and they've got all of these stories. Well, at least this one has one story, and we played it through, and it was the Marsh Bell. So in the Marsh Bell, what happens is you as the heroes come to Lake Town, which is here, and you learn that 2 dwarves, Barleen and what's his name? Who's missing? It's Barleen and Owen have gone missing. And what happens is you basically travel from Lake Town down here, and it's somewhere here. Of course, the travels would be a lot longer, because when you look at it here, they start in Lake Town and they go down to pretty much here, which is north of the Old Forest Road, which isn't even in here, but yeah, it's pretty much at the same level as Beon's house. That's where they end up. So they go all the way down here. So we would have a couple of things that we could do. First of all, I was thinking we would have to do something which is called, and this is actually funny that this exists. There is a card which is actually called Rescue Prisoners. So definitely we would need 3 of these in our resource deck. Playable at an already tapped Dark Hold or Shadow Hold. So Sun Gori Wing would qualify as such. We just need 1 more, because we need 2 just to be on the safe side. So let's see if there is anything else. For storytelling's sakes, I would say I would extend it down to Bur We Do, that you can also play it here, because obviously we need more. Because the thing is, when you play a story using role-playing game rules, you can just say, oh yeah, you go there, blah, blah, blah. Here, the problem is we may go there, but if we don't have these cards in our hands, and our hand limit is 6, unless we have a hobbit, we might not have the cards when we get there. So that's problematic. And just walking around, as we know, in this game is extremely dangerous, because the game is deadly. So I'll just have to, move the cat. So we would have several things that we could use. We could use Dale and Lake Town as places, as well as Bur We Do, Saran Gori Wing, possibly also Thranduil's halls, as locations. We might also, and Lake Town would have to act as a haven. Or we say you can heal it. I mean, I'm also not of the opinion that this whole healing should only work at so-called havens, because that is really not very conducive. So basically then we would want to recruit some people. We could recruit the Men of Dale, we could recruit Lake Town people, we could go to the Lonely Mountain even and talk to some of the dwarves there. We could see if we can get somebody in Bur We Do, so we could have those factions in our resource deck. And with regard to the hazard deck, we could put in anything that is playable in any of these regions. So we would build, and I'm probably not going to show that, because me pulling cards from this, and this is just my resource cards. This doesn't even contain any of the hazard cards, because that's a separate box, is pretty boring. But what I would envisage to do is I would take, here are my cards for my for the places, and I would just put these together, and then have my sites, choose my wizard and my starting group, so let's see what we've got here. We would be looking at Lake Town. I've got the Lonely Mountain, I've got... Oh, I don't have Lake Town actually. Do I have Dale? Yeah, I've got Dale. Oh, that's funny. Thranduil's Halls. Sangori Wing. Now that's really odd. Ah. I don't know why I've got so many separate ones. It's weird. So let's see. What do we do? Iron Hill Dwarf Hold. Lake Town, here we are. Thranduil's Halls. Here we are. Okay, so we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 locations that we would be visiting. They're all around Lorien. This one is nearest Darkhaven, Dol Guldur. Do I have normal Dale? Ah, here we are. So these are the evil ones. We take those out. Dale. And Lonely Mountain. Okay, so we've got these ones. And then we would have to see what we can play here. You can play items minor, major, and later you can't play anything. In Dale also. Minor, major, gold ring. Tranduil's Halls, nothing, and minor and major. Yeah, so Lorien is a little bit far away because it's down here. But one could say that the first leg would be from Lorien to Dale to find out that something is happening. Then we start looking, we go to Lake Town. Well, actually we go to Lake Town because that's where we find out stuff. Then we go up to Dale to find out more stuff. We go to the Lonely Mountain to find out even more stuff. We go to Thranduil's Halls, Sangori Wing, the Iron Hill Dwarf Holes, and Bur-we-Do to do stuff. So these would be places we could visit. The problem is that obviously, as you can see, not all of these places have stuff that you can do there. And if you were to play the Rescue Prisoners card, this is only playable on a tapped Darkhold, at an already tapped Darkhold, of which we have none. Oh yes, we have one. And we would extend this to Bur-we-Do. The company faces a spider attack, 2 strikes with 7 prowess. If no characters are untapped after the attack, discard rescue prisoners. Otherwise, you may tap 1 character in the company and put rescue prisoners under his control. That character may not untap until rescue prisoners is stored at a haven. Oh, border hold or freehold. So yeah, this works. So we could actually take this to 1, 2, 3 different areas. So we could play this multiple times because the site is tapped when this happens. So that's good. So we could actually get 3 of these to try and find our prisoners. Those prisoners would be Balin and Owen, I guess. I don't even know if Owen is a character. Balin definitely is. At least I thought he was. Biffa. Balin. And Ori. So we could then say that we get these 2 when we do the rescue prisoners. We basically go to Thranduil's Halls, store this, and get these 2. So they would be basically residing. They wouldn't come as cards in our decks. They would be in Thranduil's Hall, basically imprisoned there. So we find. So the way I would construct this is we go traveling. And we find information. We know that the last time that they were seen was in Sangori Wing. So we would do some research there. Try and get 2 cards. If we only get 1 card, we can only rescue 1 prisoner. If we get no cards, then we can only get dead people. However, if we do, then we can go to Thranduil's Halls, talk to the king, the Elven King, explain to him what we found. He's going to help us find them. We get them and we go back. And then we can store these cards and the guys are freed. So this would be a story that we could tell. So what would we put into the hazard deck? We would be putting anything in the hazard deck that you can reasonably encounter in the wild. So wargs, landrakes, obviously. Spiders, huons, call of home, lost in the wilderness, despair of heart, muster, disperse. Corpse candles, absolutely. Spiders, more huons, lure of nature, lesser spiders, wolves. Stirring bones, definitely, full of rage and froth, wargs, wolves, so you would definitely have those. Wisp of pale sheen sounds interesting. You wouldn't have the Fell Winter in there because that's an environment card which is in the environment deck. So we would add those. We could also envisage having some, yeah, the abductors are always nice. The Slayer is nice as well. Well, nice is a Call of Home, definitely. Lure of Nature again. Pickpocket. Because they can all reasonably be played here. And we even have our troll. Remember how we encountered the stone troll? Warvidu has an automatic stone troll attack. So we have a sizable deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. We need 3 rescue prisoner cards because that's what we're going to be doing. A muster disperse, which would mean that we might lose one of the people we try to recruit. So this would be something, we add a couple of things more to this, and then we would build our own deck around this. We would have, yeah, maybe Gandalf is a good one. The Men of Anorin we can forget because we're not going there. Aragorn, Beregond, we would have to see who we have here. Rangers of Ithilien obviously don't work. These are all people that I had in the south the other day when we were playing in the south, so they would have to be replaced with cards that could be played. Knights of Dolam Roth, Riders of Rohan, A Friend or Three, Men of Lamidon, no. Men of Lebanon, no. A Chance. Yeah, no, they were all in the south. Men of Anfalas. Elfsong, Forth He Hastened. Dodge. Okay, so these would be some things in my deck. Two Gandalfs. We would put in the two. We would put in the rescue prisoners cards. So these go in here. And with regard to factions, let's see what we've got. And where we are traveling, we would be traveling Iron Hill Dwarves, Men of Dale, Men of Lake Town, Men of Northern Rovanion, also playable at Lake Town. Wood Elves, playable at Thranduil's Hall. So we would have a sizable number of factions we could play. There are cards which allow you to bring in, I believe, factions at places where they are not from originally. Also bearing in mind that once you have played a faction, the relevant site is tapped and you can't bring in anyone else anymore. So you have to make a decision what you're going to do. I have a couple of cards which allow us to bring in characters. But we will see how this plays out, because like I said, I mean, what I'm doing now is something that I haven't tried out yet. I don't know how viable this plan of doing it this way is. We shall see. But I would like to try this because I like the storytelling aspect of these solo rules that these guys have come up with. And I'm going to put a link. I don't know if I can link to Facebook sites from YouTube, but I will definitely try, and I'll put the information in there for those of you who are interested. I think you may have to join the group in order to access the information, but it's a really nice group, and you don't have to contribute if you don't want to, really. So the gates of mourning go away because they are now in the they're now in the resource deck. I would just have to check which heroes we would take with us. Obviously, in the game itself, when we were playing, the heroes we had were, you know, 2 unnamed heroes from the One Ring that we had made ourselves. So character creation, blah blah blah. So we would have to see who we could bring. Of course, in the game, in the One Ring, you are a nobody. Here, of course, we are not nobodies. Here we've got people who are someone. Would need to be somebody maybe from the, well, I guess Unborn. Dunedain wouldn't be. Yeah, well, I mean, we can just bring them in under our influence anyway at the start. We could have Bard. He's from Lake Town. Bree, Bilbo, Boffer, Bomber, Brand, Dale, again. Dori, Dwalin, Eladan, Elrohir, Elrond, Eomer, Eowyn, Erkenbrand, Faramir, Fatih Bolger, Fili, Volker Boffin, Fram Framason aus Framsburg, Galadriel, Galdor, Gamling the Old, Druadan Forest, Gildo Inglorion Rivendell, Gimli, Einhill Dwarf, Hold, Glowin, Blue Mountain, Einhill. We could get Gimli. So we could have these as our starting group. Brand could take care of Bard. And then we have Gimli, and that's 12 influence. We would have 2 M8 free-flowing influence. That sounds like a plan. So yeah, so I think we've got our starting group. We will not be recruiting any more characters except for the people we're going to rescue, but you know, in fairness, they won't be able to do anything. They would be more like factions. They are not, they need help. They cannot be really counted upon as player characters, because we have just rescued them, so they would probably be ill anyway from their torment, because they were prisoners and now we have rescued them. So this is my plan. I'm going to put together the decks, and we will see how this plays out. I will definitely do this on camera. I think that it is great that people are still working so hard to make this game interesting and keeping it relevant these days, because obviously times have moved on and games have changed. Some of the mechanics I think in this game have kind of, you know, are now, I don't want to say outdated, but it's a kind of play style I think that maybe because it is a dead game and there are no more packs being made available to people, I think it has of course less of a following than, let's say, a game like Magic the Gathering, which operates off of similar premises and is still going strong 20 years on or 25 years on. So but I really like the fact that this has such a vibrant community where people are still playing the game and trying to fill it with life. And we will, well, we don't need Elf Song because we won't be at, well, we will just say when you are at a site that is not a terrible site. So when you are in a city like Lake Town Dale or Thranduil's Halls, this will count as a site. So I hope that you found this interesting. The game will follow, but before I do this I have to build my decks and you know, and I will probably do a blind run through. I will not actually try and play this out first, and we will see how this game shapes up and how this can be played and if it does work. I actually believe it will work. Will it work to the extent that I would like it to work? We shall see. But I do believe that the guys who came up with the system did a really, really good job of making the game a lot more meaningful rather than just playing cards to get as many points as possible. And when I talked about marshalling points, also enemies of course have marshalling points. This drake, this light drake, would count one marshalling point towards your overall result. So yeah. Oh, we can actually put them in. Drakes are always nice. So I wish you all a pleasant rest of the day, and I'll reconnect with you very, very soon. Bye!